Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well after watching that. Well, look, let's be honest. It was a bit of a shit show, wasn't it? That game against Brighton that we all just was unlucky enough to witness. Started off all right, but yeah, it just very, very disappointing. I'm in mourning. We've still got European football, but it was in our hands. John will be with us. He's just on his way back from the park, but I'm joined today by Gary as usual, and Danny and his pet bulldog. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing well. Good to see you guys again. It's good to be back home too.
Yeah, it's yeah, I know. None of us went to the game. We was all lucky enough not to go to the game. But Gary, what were your thoughts on the lineup?
Well, it was the lineup I expected, to be honest. We heard that Ben Rama wasn't quite fit. Vlasic looks like he was injured as well, so it was the first choice lineup with a very weak bench. Okaflex was on there, but obviously he was just a space saver. He was never going to get used.
He's a prop. That's all he is. Yeah, I don't know. What about you, Dan? Do you think we could have done anything different? I mean, I'll tell you what we could have done different. I'll go first. I'll tell you what we could and should be doing fucking different, because we've been seeing the warning signs now for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that's the fact that we've got a superior. I love Fabs, but we've got a superior keeper on the bench compared to the one he keeps putting on the bloody pitch. We've seen him. It's not hindsight. He's been flapping now for weeks. He's done it. He's done it in the last few games. He's come out with mad flaps. His shot stopping hasn't been great. Like I say, I'm all for keeping Fabs as a backup keeper, but how in such an important game that could have got us into a more meaningful European competition, let's face it, how can we not put out our strongest team? How can we not give ourselves the best possible chance? So, no, I wasn't happy with the starting lineup, because especially now in retrospect, because our worst fears were realised with that. But Danny, go on, mate. I'll let you go.
It went about as poorly as it could have, but I wasn't necessarily dissatisfied with the team sheet when I looked at it this morning. I expected Fob to get the starting nod, and as that's been the case, Moyes won't really change his mind on that, or had showed that he wouldn't this season. Hopefully, he'll reconsider and maybe realize that, look, Fobs has done some great things for this club. He's made some great saves. He saved a lot of penalties this season that really could have had us drop out of Europe if he doesn't make some of those saves. But I do agree with you there, Nick, that the superior option at goalkeeper is definitely Areola right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, our best penalty shot stopper is Areola, just like our best penalty taker is Mark Noble. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit irritated by it, to be honest. Yeah. Especially because Man United lost. We needed them to lose, and then we've just gone and it's Brighton again. We can't beat
on that banana peel again, and knowing it's coming too.
I know. And we started the game so slowly as well. Now I don't think that that's not by design, because we start an awful lot of games slowly. We always come out for the first 10, 15 minutes, and I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I think you're kind of cagey. You're waiting to see what the opposition are doing. You're trying to work them out. And we generally do grow into a game as a half wears on. And that's kind of how the first half materialised. The first 10, 15 minutes, Brighton looked like Barcelona. And then we probably had the last half an hour. We was the better team in the last half hour. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much to talk about in the first half apart from the goal. I don't think there was that many. There wasn't that many chances. We didn't really create many chances from open play. We was definitely arrowing crosses into the box, but the crosses weren't great. Soufal's he had a good game defensively, but in an attacking sense, his crosses were not on the money. They kept on. He just hits it into the area where there's never a player. So that was frustrating. But then obviously Antonio pops up.
Yeah, I mean it was an excellent finish. Completely out of the blue. He gave Dunk a little nudge, which they checked with VAR later. Tried to stop it, but didn't. But yeah, it was a great finish. I mean, he swung his left foot at it, so wrong foot and outside of the box. It was completely out of the blue. Took us all by surprise.
Yeah, that's probably. I don't think he's ever scored a goal for us as far away from that. Has he ever scored at quite a distance for us? I can remember.
No, he's never scored outside of the box, at least not in his
No.
club career. He has
No.
for Jamaica, but not for us.
Yeah, so that was his first one. But I think the first half for 15 minutes we did start slow. We got into the game. I think we dominated possession for the last half hour of that half, and
We did.
I think it was a deserved 1-0 lead at half time. I thought we were playing well, and
Yeah.
Brighton were not on it. They weren't at it rather. You know, we seemed to. You know, let's face it, we were quite lucky to get away with the first 15 minutes. They had a good chance. They had a good chance, and
They had a
probably
few.
should have done.
They had a few chances.
You know, but then, like I said, once we started taking control, we were really, really dominant in that first half, and I had high hopes going into halftime.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was a bit frustrated by a couple of performances in the first half. Obviously, we will go into we'll do the player ratings. And we was all saying at half time, no matter what happens, if we win this game, no donkeys. But there were a couple of donkeys on the pitch today, I think. There were. Unfortunately, there really were. And for me, Souček, again, there's no surprises from the man at the moment this season. Whenever you play him, there's never a performance there. There just isn't. And like I say, I do feel like I'm starting on him all the time. But even Moyes came out. We've spoken about this before. He came out when he was quizzed about playing players that were out of form, and he says, "Well, he basically said I'll play Souček because he's tall." That is effectively what he said.
He did say that, and I've got to say, I mean, as the season's worn on, I did cut him some slack earlier in the season, Souček, because he had a tough summer and everything else, and I thought it might have been tiredness, you know. But there's something else up. He ain't right, and I don't know what it is. Even the co-commentator on the stream that I was watching today, even he picked up on it. For the, I mean, we'll go forward and talk about the second half, but let's just fast forward for a second. For their second goal, Souček lazily tried to close the player down, and the co-commentator said, "Oh, he looks like he's blowing out of his arse. It's like he's struggling to lift his legs, and he's just had a week's rest. So I don't know why. I don't know why he's so.
Unless he's got an injury, he should be able to recover. He should be able to recover physically from a game in 7 days, shouldn't you?
For me, a good player don't become a shit player overnight, but that's what he seems to have done this season. He's got kind of worse and worse and worse, and to the point today where, I mean, we've seen so many performances like that from him. It was painful to watch. It was a terrible performance.
Yeah.
And he weren't on his own either. He weren't on his own.
There were some parallel performances, but like I say, with Souček, it wasn't a surprise. They are the performances that we're used to seeing from Souček. You know, we saw examples against Arsenal and I know we didn't win against Arsenal, but it was a good performance, and against Norwich, of what happens when you don't have him in the team and you actually have another body in the middle that can help, that can contribute to something more than heading a fucking ball. He's and I am sorry that is kind of how it feels. In those two games that we watched, a couple of, you know, just recently against Norwich. I know Norwich are gone, they're crap, but the football was brilliant. We was holding onto the ball. It was great. Against Arsenal, we out-Arsenaled Arsenal. We was passing the ball. It was brilliant, you know. And unfortunately, and he isn't even doing what he was good at before. I think Gary's right. At least I swear Souček was a good box-to-box destroyer. He used to break up play.
He was.
I'm sure, unless I'm imagining it, I'm sure he used to be able to do that.
Something's happened with him too. Yeah, what do you think, Danny? What do you think's happened to him? Loss of form or what?
It could be a loss of form. It could be, and we've talked about this multiple times this season, that it could be loss of form. It could be just that he's knackered. I mean, you saw how many minutes he played in the Euros, and he's not really gotten a break. I don't know how well Sioux Falls has managed to finish the season, but not without missing a little bit of time with injury.
No,
but I think a good deal of it is, it could be psychological, because it seems like anytime that Souček has been on the ball lately, and he does contribute his odd goal here and there, he does add some important size and set pieces, but it seems like anytime he gets any pressure put on him by the opposition, he just buckles and
he gives
away the ball cheaply, or can't dribble his way out of a situation where they put even the slightest bit of pressure on him. I don't know what's going on with him.
Look, I think you're right
to watch, man.
I think you're right, and I think we've kind of picked up on that on previous shows, and we've all said the same thing about the Premier League, right? In the end, that you will get, if you've got a weakness, it will get found out. And I do think that we're seeing Souček targeted in midfield. It's almost like they mark him tight because they know that when he receives the ball, if you're close to him and you put him under pressure, he hasn't really got the feet or the presence of mind to get himself out of trouble.
No.
And you know, he struggles, and I think that's what's happening now. And I don't know whether you noticed today as well. You know, there were so many times when we build out from the back in the second half, for instance, you had Souček on the right, and Rice on the left in parallel positions in central midfield. You know, the ball would always find its way out to Declan Rice. They would never. It's like they don't even look for Souček. Souček's in space as well. But it's literally it's like the game bypasses him. Now I don't know whether his teammates have lost, because that will happen on a pitch. If you think that you're going to give a ball to Rice and something will happen, or you can give it to Souček and something won't. And I also saw a passage of play in the second half where Rice did square the ball to him. Well, Souček just gave the ball straight back to him.
Yeah.
So Souček gave do you remember that? Souček gave the ball to him and he literally just returned it back.
You wanted no part of it, yeah.
No, you know, and it was just bizarre, you know.
Let's go through a few comments, right?
Yeah,
so, because we've got loads. So, finishing sixth last season, seventh this season is a great achievement. Yeah, absolutely, it is.
That's a really fair point.
Yeah, you know, we're just really evaluating the game today. Of course, it's been a great season.
This is not a season review. We're reviewing the game, just as a caveat. So these. You know, we're not talking about the season. It's today and the opportunity that we've missed.
And Ross says, I know we're a bit tired at the end of the season, but to have Europa in the palm of our hands and just surrender it without a whimper is infuriating. I watched it with Ross, and yes, it kind of was. So, sorry, one here, which is from Craven Moorhead. Moyes is very angry in his interview, and good on him. I'm glad he roasted the players in public. I didn't see his interview. I turned it off.
I missed it.
Yeah, but to stick on that, I'm very angry with Moyes. He sat on his fucking hands until the 80th minute.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
He sat on his hands until the 80th minute, and he took off two technical players. I know one of them weren't playing very well, but he took off Fornells and Lanzini, two players who can make something happen, brought on a fucking right back who isn't attacking minded. He's more defensive minded than the one he took off.
Listen,
and he brought on Yarmolenko.
Listen, right, you can argue about who came on, and I will argue about that because it was bad. But who went off? Lanzini didn't have a good game. Fornells had a terrible game.
But when you're going for a game, you keep
it weren't happening. It weren't happening. It wasn't happening.
I don't think those substitutions were tactical.
No. I just think it was they were token substitutes.
They really were, man. Those weren't tactical.
Just goes to show how weak our bench is. Yeah, absolutely. Two goalkeepers on the bench. Okaflex there as a placeholder. Other than that, what did we have? Noble, Yarmolenko, and Ben Johnson. I mean, that's it really. So disappointing from Amanda, especially given Man U loss. Yeah, that makes it even worse, to be honest. That makes it even worse. We never seem to capitalise when other results go against us. I mean, it's a recurring theme for the last X number of weeks. We had so many opportunities to take the 5th place or the 6th place, and we just spurned them, didn't we? 10 games for Brighton is an absolute embarrassment. Yeah, they're a bogey side, and that happens in football, doesn't it, sadly? Moyes giving lip service again. Yeah, possibly.
Speaking of Moyes, I don't know if in your stream they had mentioned that Moyes hadn't even beaten Brighton in quite some time. He was actually managing Preston the last time he beat Brighton.
Yeah. I know. Crystal Palace did their job, says Black Country. We couldn't. Shit show. Yeah, I agree.
They served them
haven't capitalised on anything in the league for most of the season. Well, early on we did. It's just later in the season it just turned to crap, didn't it? Let's be honest. It was poor. Craven says, I really wish Man United had won because it wouldn't be
I'm with you.
Yeah, good point.
It was embarrassing.
Sipped on a plate and bottled it. Yeah.
Do you know, it's almost like they didn't want it. It's like no one wanted it. And
Mark says Moyes is a defensive manager and never plays on the front foot, was never going to make any substitutions. We're going to come and talk about the second half in a minute because that's one of my complaints. I'm hoping the players got into the dressing room, seen United score, and then Moyes let him rip at them. They need a massive kick up in the arse. Well, look, let's be honest. Yeah, my firm belief is some of the big games that we've lost this season, it shows we don't have enough big game players who can handle that moment. You know, even like today where they couldn't raise themselves. I think if you looked at Declan Rice, even when we were playing poorly at the start of that game, Declan Rice was leading by example and trying to drive the team on because he's a quality player, a class player. He was literally the only one that was doing it. Antonio was running around with no support up front, trying his best, but really,
Bowen was anonymous today for some reason.
Bowen was anonymous. So was Fornals, and Lanzini was poor as well. That whole attacking, creative midfield side was rubbish.
But what I will say, in terms of sort of failed passes and stuff like that, Fornals was up there, one of the worst performers on the pitch. But you know something. Fornals is David Moyes' favourite square peg for that left-sided position. That none of the players that play out there are left wingers. Fornals is not a left winger. He hasn't got the pace for it. He's not left-footed. You know, it's and you ain't going to get the best out of Fornals when you play him out there. So, and that's what I mean. When you've got an absolute fucking, and he's turning into a right duffer of a player in Souček, playing in a central position where you know that Fornals could do a better job. Well, he could do a better job than Souček there.
I got to be honest. Fornals gave me the ump today.
But he's playing out of position. It's not playing Antonio at centre back, Gary.
But I'm not going to stand up for someone who I think had as bad a game as Souček, because I think he did.
I don't think he was as bad as Souček.
Oh, you're joking! Do you remember that ball when he was clean through? The ball when he was clean through, what he did with it? It was embarrassing.
The left foot cross?
No, the one where he was right through the middle and he had Bowen coming up to support him on the outside. He was literally a good 3 or 4 yards in front of the defenders. They were going to catch him because they were all quicker than him. But I don't know what he did. But instead of trying to find the pass, he just played some hopeful ball forward, and it just went out of play.
I'm with you. I'm not going to argue and say he had a good game. I'm not going to argue and say he had a good because he didn't.
So Craven says, bottling sick. Look, bottling's a strong word. I don't think we bottled it. I just don't think we didn't turn up. I just don't think we turned up. I don't think we bottled it. We didn't turn up.
What would you call it then? If
we did have it at one point.
Gary, no, 1 minute. What I'm saying is, if Spurs did that today, what would you say Spurs did? Would you say they bottled it?
Listen,
you would, wouldn't you? You'd say they bottled it.
No, I would say. We did not turn up. To say you bottled it means you were afraid and you screwed up because you were afraid of failure or something. I don't think that was the case. I think they basically, we weren't good
enough then? We just weren't good enough for it.
We were just crap.
Yeah.
We looked tired and crap.
Yeah.
Bottling 6th, Nigel says. Yeah, I agree with Nigel there, I'm afraid. Terrible last part of the season. Yeah, it has been. Hopefully next year Antonio will play next wing with a new striker and Fornals as number 10. Well, it would be nice to see Fornals.
He's got to play central.
Yeah, it would be nice to see Fornals in that position. He's just completely wasted out in the length, out on the left. Lack of depth destroyed us. Yeah, I think it did in the end. Have I logged onto a Man United channel? Jaff1 says he's a kid that wants to please and do his best. That doesn't make a team. I'm not sure who that's referring to. Was that
maybe Fornals? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, Martin. Maybe it's Fornals. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it must be Fornals. Yeah. Can we all agree that Fabianski can't be here next season?
No, he can be here. He can be here. He's a good backup. He's a brilliant backup keeper. But
he's just not a first choice.
He can't be first choice in massive games like this, which is a massive game epic.
Yeah.
You've got to play your strongest available players. Just like if you're going for a cup and you've got the kids that have got you so far in a cup competition, you've been playing all your backup players. Once you get to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, you start taking it seriously. You start putting your proper players in because you want to win the competition. Now, Fabianski, he's done great things. He saved the penalty in the last game. He has done that. But at the same time, we've also seen several instances of him flapping at crosses, and his shot stopping hasn't been great. He sticks to his line because he's not as mobile as a younger man, because he's just not. He isn't comfortable to sort of come off of his line. He's kind of one-dimensional as a keeper. And I just think it's frustrating that you can have a player on the bench, but because this is Fabs' last season, possibly his number one, it's I don't know. I almost feel like it's out of loyalty as opposed to playing the right player. He's playing him out of loyalty as opposed to doing what needs to be done to win a game.
If Fabianski is here next season, says Epic, Moyes is going to start him. I disagree with that. I think if we go out and sign Areola and actually sign him, I think he'll be the number one. Gary says, sorry, Gary, we did bottle it. Oh, it's it's all opinions, isn't it? Sixth place was there, and unfortunately today we didn't want it. Don't think again. Did we not want it? I mean, look, going back to last Tuesday when I made a solo news show and I said this is a cup final and we need to treat it like a cup final. And one thing's for sure, we didn't fucking treat it like a cup final. We treated it like a preseason friendly to start with.
Yeah.
So that's where I disagree with bottling and stuff like that, because I don't think we were possibly up for it enough in the first place to bottle it. You know what I mean?
Is that's worse than bottling it then to not be up for it?
Yeah, it's not turning up. That's what I said. We didn't turn up, especially in the second half. We did in the first half. Second half, we didn't.
Well, no. I think what happened was in the second half. Before we move on, I think in the second half he approached it in the same way as he did in the first half, and I do think it's by design. I think because he'll know that Brighton are going to come out, they're going to go in, they're going to reshape, regroup, they're going to come out firing. So he knows that, and I think it's the same thing again. So it's sit back because it works in the first half. Sit back, wait to see what they do. But it didn't work this fucking time because Brighton scored.
Well, listen, to give
and then they've got momentum. To
give their manager a bit of credit, he made a change at half time.
He's a good manager.
Can I talk? He made a change at half time and he brought Malpai on. That completely screwed us up. We didn't know how to deal with it. Suddenly they were playing a high press. They were putting a load of they were getting a load of pressure on the ball. We could not handle it, and they were getting forward in numbers as well. And you could tell inside the first couple of minutes of that second half, the way, I mean, I feared for us within a couple of minutes. You could kind of see how that second half was unfolding, and I was thinking, we got to do something to stop this because it's going to hurt us. And then 6 minutes in, the absolutely inevitable happens, doesn't it? And it was inevitable. It was coming.
As poor as we were playing, it really was bound to happen. We weren't doing ourselves any favors.
And can you explain from that point why it took so long for David Moyes to even make a tactical? I don't even agree with his changes, but to even make those changes, can you even explain it? Because what we was doing wasn't working.
Because he's so set in his ways.
But it just wasn't working.
He is set in his ways. We know that Moyes doesn't make any substitutions until at least the 70th minute, right? That's the first. And I'm going to be listen. I'll be critical of Moyes with this because it's one thing that really annoys me with him. There ain't much that annoys me with Moyes, but this is one thing that annoys me with him. His use of substitutions is diabolical. And I'll go back to the Frankfurt game, right? The Frankfurt game where we're all sitting watching it in the bar. What he needed to do when we were 1-0 down in that second leg and 2 goals down on aggregate, what he really needed to do was take a risk. And if we ended up losing 5-0, so what? He needed to put some players on and go for the game. But instead, he seemed more happy, again, to wait until 70 minutes, make some cautious substitutions. And look, it didn't matter, Dave. We're out of the competition anyway. You might as well just get us slaughtered. And the same situation.
Go down swinging at least.
The same situation today where we're you either do it when at 1-1 because 1-1 was no good to us. It was no good to us at all. We had to win. We had to win the game.
It almost feels like he can't get past that damage limitation thing.
So even in
a game like that,
a proactive manager like the Brighton boss today, he made a change at half time, a very effective change. They went 1-1, and then at 65 minutes he made another change. They went 2-1 up, and then they won it in injury time. What the fuck did we do with our substitutions? We made a triple substitution, and we had some options on the bench. We had a few options on the bench that would have perhaps been a bit more interesting. For a start, a change of formation. If we're going to go for it, then that means you're going to sacrifice some of your base, some of your defensive solid base, right? And that means Souček off, right?
Off.
Yeah. It means that you move Bowen into the middle, maybe move Antonio out to the left, and then you've got Okoflex sitting on the bench. He might be not up to the standard. I don't know. But why not have a gamble?
But he is. I'll tell you what he is, though, Gary. But Okoflex is an unknown, though. He would be someone that they don't know much about.
He's not someone they scouted for or prepared to have to deal with.
My point is, right, if you don't buy a ticket, you ain't going to win a raffle. And so we just seem to accept it. And the most infuriating of all those three substitutes was Ben Johnson. What the hell was that about?
A right back for a right back, and a more defensive right back. Because that is what he is compared to Soufal.
And we were 2-1 down at the time. We were 2-1 down at the time, and you're trying to chase a game by putting someone who hasn't got much going forward, and then you replace, you bring Noble on into the middle, which I understand why he played Noble, is his last game and everything else. Probably more sentimental or anything else, but Noble was never going to bring an attacking side to that game, was he? He wasn't going to help us win the game, was he?
No.
So I completely, Moyes, in my mind, with the substitutions, completely ballsed it up. Their manager reacted to the situation, went on and won the game, made changes, positive changes that led to them winning the game. Moyes did nothing to counter any of those changes that manager made, and that's why we lost, coupled with all the shitty performances across the pitch from senior players.
Yep. Yeah, I know. It was an absolute clusterfuck today. It was. And I'm almost sick of talking about the game, to be honest. I mean, do you want to just go into the player ratings? I mean, because
no. Let's cover the second half. Rewind. Let's talk about their equaliser, because their equaliser was a complete.
Also came from a throw in like our goal did.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, so Danny, I mean, when I saw what Fabianski did to that in real time, I said that's a balls up by the keeper. What did you think?
Yeah. It looked like it was his fault.
Went straight through him.
Yep.
You know what actually?
It went flopped over it, and
it went straight through him.
You know what actually happened? And I picked this up from. I watched Irish Tommy on Hammers Chat earlier, right? And you know what he picked up on, which I hadn't. He said in slow motion, Fabianski had actually already dived to cover his near post, and the ball went straight at him, and he had to go back the other direction. Had he just stood where he was, he would have caught it. So that's the thing. That's the thing to do with when you get older and your reactions are not as fast as they used to be. You try to compensate for it by trying to guess where the thing's going to go. Try to anticipate it, right?
Yeah.
He's tried to anticipate it, and that's cost us a goal. Go on, Nick. Tell us what you think. Go on.
Well, no. It's not surprising. Like with Souček and his performances, I know Fabianski is fundamentally he's a top keeper, so he will still do good things in the game, like the penalty save in the last game. So people will point to that. But we've seen so many warning signs now from Fabianski. You know that. I mean, I'll tell you what, the mad flaps, what he's been coming at, sort of trying to catch the ball and missing them. That has been bothering me. And that was into. You can't not point the finger at Fabs for that. It went straight through him, and Irish Tommy's exactly right. You know, he got it all wrong. He got it all wrong. But am I surprised that Fabs let that in? No, it's not. You know, his positioning is quite often wrong. You know, what was the last one that was straight at him and it came off his fucking leg and into the goal? Do you remember?
Well, there was one shortly after the goal.
At him, you know,
there was one shortly after the goal as well, which basically, if you look at it, it ended up being a corner. Yeah, and Fabs really should have collected it. Right, he should have collected it. It was Butterfingers, wasn't it? Let's just change the subject before we come back to the game. Right. So, on a brighter note, I was sitting in a bar in Palma Nova with a load of scousers giving it large. You must have loved that, Martin. Great to see their boats after the City comeback. Yeah.
Well, they literally won it in 5 minutes, didn't they? City won it three goals in 5 minutes.
I bet they were already singing "You Never Walk Alone" and all that sort of stuff. How many times this season have we gained places in the table? Well, early on, quite a few times, but second half of the season, it's been the opposite direction. Mandias is Vlasic injured. He hasn't played for ages.
I'm not sure he'll play for us again.
Even when he's been fit, Mandy, and been on the bench, he hasn't been brought on. It's baffling. Probably not baffling. Moyes don't fancy him, clearly. A stronger squad, says Matt, and a manager who trusts his whole squad, maybe return to a higher position. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, maybe. But we've ended up in this situation where he's got a very small first-team squad. He's got limited options on the bench. And I know we can look back.
Gary.
I know we could look back and say maybe that was his fault, and we don't know whether.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't.
He does bring up a good point. Like out of this squad, with this depth, as tight of a rotation as he's used, could you have asked for much else?
No, not at all. Not at all. No. Nige says he's Moyes a good manager. Well, yeah, of course he is. I mean, he's got his flaws.
It doesn't mean he's beyond criticism, no, Nigel.
No, he's got his annoying flaws, like every other manager, and I think substitutions are my one. Substitutions are my one. You know, you can actually set your watch by him in a league game. He will bring a player on at 70 minutes.
And quite often, Gary, as well. Quite often they are they are pre-planned. I reckon he even knows what the subs are before the game starts.
Yeah.
You know.
Relaxing Woody 05 says, all in all, been a good season. 7th. Yeah, of course. It's been a great season. He is Nigel about Moyes, says Matt. Manager is clueless, says Gary.
No, not clueless. Not clueless. Definitely not.
No, listen, he's got some traits. But then again, he's, as Danny said, he's set in his ways, and he's going to have sort of certain traits.
Whether or not, I'm going to say this now, whether or not with what we've seen in that game, and we've seen examples like you just said in the Frankfurt game, whether we're ever going to have enough to get over the line and win anything with him is another question. But he is a good manager. I don't know.
Yeah. We have a hungry under. Yeah, this is about Alcaflex. We needed 2 quick goals. We have an under 23 striker on the bench, and he brings Yarmo on, who's not here next year. Yeah. No, that was my fault. You know, to be honest, I saw it. I saw it in a different way. I probably would have brought Yarmo on and put him on the right side and put Bowen up front, and I probably would have brought on Alcaflex as well. I would have completely gone for it, you know.
Stack the front and commit.
But then that's me.
Forward, see if you can turn things around, and if not, then you're in no worse a position when you were down 2-0 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I would never have put Yarmolenko on the right. I would have played him central because we know he's shit on the right. So he is better when you play him in the central position. So I would have played him central, kept Bowen where he was, and I maybe gone 2 up front, maybe shifted Bowen up front with him. And gone for a 4-4-2 or something like that. You know, change it.
Moyes has been found out. See, I don't think it's Moyes has been found out. I think the system and the players have been found out, and he hasn't really got any options to. And look, they've only been found out against certain sides who had found us out previously as well, right? Stelius, how you doing, Stel?
Can you hear me?
On the train.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
I just wanted. I'm on the train, so probably my connection will go any minute.
No, that's all right, mate.
So I just want to say that despite losing, it's been a great season, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been a great season. Still.
He's only come on to wind me up because I said this was a review. Basically, whenever anything bad happens with West Ham, it's going to be so. You know, whenever there's a bad thing, it's going to be but it's been a great season though. So when you can't analyze anything without going, because you can always have it's a great season to offset.
You got to stay positive.
Yeah,
you got to stay positive. Yeah.
I think, look, there's one here from Barney saying, Gary, wake up. You've been drugged by Nick. I don't know what that means, but must be because I'm being slightly negative. Garino, if that game serves one purpose, it's clear reminder that the Moyes and the board
that's not a bad thing.
Have to invest in quality players and in numbers. And I think, look, we're all looking and expecting a very big transfer window this year. And I think anything less than that, we're going to be annoyed with, right? We're going to be annoyed with.
Yeah.
Epic Ash time next season is going to be a disaster with the players leaving or aging. Well, again, dependent upon, subject to a good transfer window. If we had a good transfer window, it won't be a disaster. It'll be a good season. Agree all the way, Garino. Things go bad next season. Moyes be gone for best manager.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
No.
I listen. We got to avoid overreacting to one game and.
I don't want Moyes. I'm not a Moyes out person. I'm not.
We're having a go based on what we've seen today, which has been a pretty dismal performance, right? A dismal performance. But that doesn't mean dismal performance equals we hate the manager and he's crap and he's got to go, because that ain't the case, right?
No, you do have to put it in perspective, as frustrating as it is when you get so close with something like this.
Yeah.
But the fact is, a couple of seasons ago, we were fighting for to avoid relegation, and now we're pissing and moaning because we didn't get 6th. So although it's frustrating, you got to put some balance on it. But yeah.
Has Moyes been any different throughout his managerial career? This is his level question now. Is are we content with it? And look, that's right. He has consistently delivered 6th place ish finishes throughout his career. That is the kind of new level that we're at, and we've got to say, are we? Can he bring in the tools and a couple of alternative ways of playing, and maybe a different approach that could allow him to go above that? Could we be fighting for 5th or 4th? I'm not convinced we could be, personally.
Yeah.
I think this is our level, but personally, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
As frustrating as that's going to be for some people who expect a continuous upward slope, I don't think that's realistic for West Ham. I think we're a cup side, and to do well in the league and to do well in the cups, and maybe go one step further next year and won the cups, even the Conference League.
Yeah, there's one here from Garino. Look, end of the day, we missed out on Champions League and Europa because of our form since mid-November, not today.
Yes.
Which is exactly right. You know, it dropped out, and that is why we won't go back into it. But we all know, you know, the fact is, if we had have invested in January and invested well in a way that Spurs did, to be quite honest, with that bloke they brought in who scored today.
Yeah.
If they had, and what Conte did when he came in, he basically bailed out of that competition that we're in next year.
Yeah.
He recruited in January, and that has enabled them to go and get full spot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But let's finish off talking about the game. So it was 1-1. Then we had a decent spell of possession from about 10 minutes or so. I think we had a decent spell of possession again in that second half, but it didn't last very long, to be honest, before Brighton started launching the sorties at our goal, and they were getting many numbers forward, and we couldn't handle it, and there were mistakes happening. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for Dawson in the heart of defence, I lost count of the amount of balls he cleared today and blocked and headers and stuff like that. We would have been in trouble if it weren't for him. And then, lo and behold, we concede yet another sloppy goal. Right, you know. Do you want to talk about the second goal?
No, I don't want to talk about any of it. It was shit.
And Welbeck had multiple chances at goal prior to finally getting that one to go through. It was, especially frustrating because I don't like him.
Oh no, but I think we've basically covered, in essence, before we go on to player ratings, I think we've covered the low points, right? You got any other observations before we do the player ratings, Nick?
Nothing really from me. I mean, like I say, it all comes down to. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of tactics, and it is a criticism of Moyes. He's built a very good team. That's what he's done. A very good team that on their day they can compete with anyone when we're at our best. But he's not dynamic. He doesn't adapt when things are not going well. He rarely does that. So if his plan for the game isn't working, like Potter's plan for the game wasn't working for him today, Potter changed things at halftime. David Moyes invariably is going to blame the personnel because it can never be his system.
I'll tell you what. One thing that goes against that, right? Is he disappeared? Nick's frozen.
He's speechless.
Nick's quiet. Excellent. Let me just counter that point. let me just counter that point because Moyes has showed several times this year that he's wanted to, for instance, play with a back five. Right? He's wanted to play with a back five, but he just doesn't have the resources to do it. So he is constrained by the players he's got and kind of forced into playing the system that he ends up playing because he doesn't have the players to offer the variety. Now, I'm hoping in the summer he brings in some players that can fit into different systems. So he can switch to a back five. He can switch to a back four. He can do, he can do different things, and he's got players who are intelligent enough and capable enough to change around. At the moment, it's look, let's be honest, it's 4-2-3-1 or nothing.
Yeah, no, but that's it. He literally, But I've got no. I'm struggling for the confidence. I think we will obviously sign players. We're going to sign players in the summer, but I think we'll be lucky to break even with the amount of players that go out compared to bodies that come in. That's personally what I think.
Yeah, we've got to make a hell of a lot of signings.
When you look back to January, Moyes struggled to attract these big players that we was apparently trying to get in January when we were sitting in the top four and we was in every competition and doing well in the Europa League. Now, I know we finished seventh, but now the first thing he's got to do, first of all, he's first port of call. He's not going to be bringing in new players. He's going to be sitting down talking to Declan Rice and Jared Bowen, who probably they know that they're hot property. He's got to convince them to buy into him, the fact that, we are going to push on next year. We are going to be ambitious. We are going to get these players in. So before he even goes out and tries to convince other players to come in, he's got to secure these ones. So I think that there could be more ramifications for this than we know. We know that the Europa League is good. It is lucrative. It does bring money in. The Conference League doesn't. It's not as lucrative as that. There isn't as much money in that. So So you've got to think that's going to put a dent in the transfer kitty. So I don't know. I'm not as confident now. I think that was a big opportunity today.
That is a good point. That being in a lower tiered competition
Oh,
is going to affect the kind of players we attract.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You know, because let's not forget, right? The Europa Conference League, it is another European game, but it's built of 5 teams that finish 7th from the top 5 European leagues. The rest of them 70, and then you got 75 randoms from the likes of Hungary, Andorra, places like that. That's what you've got in the So when you get to the latter stages, if the big clubs do progress through like they have this year, you end up with quite tasty looking semi-finals, quarterfinals, and a final. But the competition itself to get to that stage is,
listen, this is where
I can tell you this though. It does mean a hell of a lot.
It's Astragugu week in, week out. That's what it is.
No, it'll mean a hell of a lot to the fans if we can next season win that competition.
Yeah, no, I agree. It'd be lovely to win something.
Well, listen, you're wrong about it being worth nothing. It's worth, it's probably over half what the Europa League's worth, and we've earned quite a bit out of that this year. The money is not as bad as you think. It's more European trips. The group stage is going to involve some really small teams. After the group stage, they become better. I hope we don't do a Tottenham and just get knocked out of it. I don't think they did that on purpose anyway. I think you're giving Conte far too much credit for that. I think, I think that they've made their bed before Conte even arrived in that competition. I'm happy to have that, and I don't want to put it down and start talking about it the way Spurs are going to talk about it. Every Spurs person you bump into is going to call it a 2-bob competition.
But they're going to try and discredit it or try to devalue it.
No. If we're in it, we've got to go to win it. Just like we would want to win the English, we'd want to win the League Cup. You'd want to win the FA Cup. We're in it. We've got to go. We've got to go to win it. We have.
Do you think when Mourinho lifts his first trophy as Roman manager that he's going to care whether it's the Conference League or something else? Right.
But there's no guarantees we're going to win that next year, Gal.
No, there isn't. I just exactly because it does turn into a very serious competition later on, and that means it's worth winning, right? So look, let's not play it down. It is where we are, and that's what we've got to make the most of it. Right. Shall I go through a few comments before we move on to the player ratings?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, on David Moyes, saved us from relegation twice. Yes, only a sacking in between them, and back to European qualification, back-to-back European qualification. Yes, Mandy, I agree. It's an astounding achievement. Dress it up, dismiss it, take the piss out of it as much as you like.
He's far from clueless. He's one of the best managers that we've had and that we're likely to get at our level. But I think he has proved that as good as he is, when it gets to sort of the real talent, he can sometimes be quite limited as well. But that doesn't mean we should replace him. It doesn't mean we should replace him.
When you see a comment like this, what's his plus points, please? Oh, really?
Oh, come on.
Really? You need to ask. Fucking not even worth answering. Right. Evening all. Moyes is a good manager, but he's massively risk averse. Yes, he is. That's one of his traits. And that's a significant flaw. Well, it's a flaw, but it's also a flaw that's got us qualified for Europe twice. Not necessarily the Europe we wanted this year, but listen, terrible game today. It doesn't mean you don't mean you have to tar him and say he's a bad manager.
I think that's a fair comment from Astro Rex.
I agree.
The most imaginative. That is a good comment. He's not.
No, he isn't. He's an old school manager.
Yeah,
he's an old school manager. But like I was trying to allude to earlier, I don't know how much of that is down to a lack of ability or the fact that he doesn't have the staff to try to play different systems, because he literally doesn't. But that is by design. And David Moyes, don't matter what club he's ever been at, he's worked with a small squad, Gary, and he only plays one way quite often. Yeah, interesting summer transfer window, Black Country. Yes, it's the most important thing ever, right? It really is. Ken Hammers just got an awful second half. We couldn't handle Brighton's movements up front and movement off the ball. Yeah. Listen, I think we need pace. I think we need pace all over the team. We haven't got enough of it. I was sitting there watching it. Today, and I just thought we were being run ragged. And even people like Cresswell, who's not blessed with natural pace either. I thought, that first 15 minutes of the first half, I thought Cresswell looked vulnerable as well down one side. How on earth did Malpay not get booked? Yeah, he went in on Fornals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
David Moyes just cut his internet connection. Yeah. There's more games in the conference. Yeah, it's a bigger competition, but I'm looking forward to it. And just
28 games.
Just because I'm pretty sure that
versus 13, like assuming you were going to play every game and win every game.
28 games.
The most important thing. Listen, the most important thing is
never going to play on a Saturday again.
Stop calling it Vauxhall Conference. That was James. Yeah. I'm a Brighton supporter. Surprised West Ham weren't up for it. Yeah. Well, I think Brighton were better than us today in the second half. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. They wanted it more. Their manager wanted it more.
They're a nemesis, aren't they? We can never ever get past them.
No. It wasn't. It didn't turn out to be Glenn Murray in the end. He's gone now, and they're still beating us. Bassey from Rangers looks great. Yeah, apparently we're really interested in, haven't we? Nice. See Haller for Moyes' limitations, says Garino. He could have got much more out of him by tweaking his system.
Thank you very much.
But then again, Pellegrini couldn't get anything out of Haller either.
Haller started well, Gary.
Yeah,
he did. He
did start well, Gary.
Yeah, but by the time Pellegrini got sacked,
Haller
was rubbish.
Haller was in a poor team. Everyone was rubbish.
And that's the poor team.
No, but the fact of the matter is what it is. David Moyes he had a system of playing, and he only wanted the right type of player for his system. He weren't going to tweak the system to suit his players. So he wants players that will fit in his system. So that's fine, but that is a reason Haller didn't work. Because Haller isn't Antonio.
Yes and no. Listen, I think there was much more to that story than meets the eye. I think we're all just assuming that's what it was. I think there was much more to it. I was watching Haller, and he didn't seem the most committed player to me.
No, he didn't seem the happiest when he would score a worldie of a goal. And
no. But I think that's the type of thing that Moyes might get though. I think when you bring in top players, if Moyes does bring in a top player, say he brings in a top central, he brings in a top number 10, or he brings in a top left winger, or he brings in a top striker who's made their trade playing a certain way, and then David Moyes basically tries to play them somewhere else and do something different with them. That kind of what David Moyes has got to do now in this window. If he only plays one way, go out and buy the fucking players that play in that system. I'm fed up of his projects, to be quite honest, of turning players into something else. Just buy the player that has made their career playing in that way. Just go and buy them. Don't buy a fucking number 10 and put him on a left wing, because he ain't going to be as good as a left winger. And we've got 4 of them.
Let's do the player ratings. That should be fun. Hello, Hammerhead.
You guys have been face palming so much this after, like so much of this. And
honestly, I can't tell you, right? I am so gutted about this. I'm so
transpired versus
I'm so downbeat.
It's how it's happened.
Yeah.
That's the real kick in the nuts.
It has taken the wind right out of my sails.
And the thing is, Gary, as you alluded to earlier on, the really irritating thing is we've dropped so many points in other games where we shouldn't really have even come to this point. It shouldn't have come down to the last day, really, probably.
And to be fair, the good run of form that we had early on is the only reason that we've survived. That's the reason. Yeah, absolutely.
That is another point. Before we move on, that is another point. When that European competition kicks in, that is when, because we're not going to have a big squad next year. Let's just face it, we're not going to. Hopefully, we'll have a better squad, but we won't have a big squad.
Not much better.
So what will happen is once the European games kick in, we will start to falter again. If we remain in the competition anyway, it will start to put strain on the league. Anyone who's in those competitions, it does it. Look at Leicester's league form. They're nowhere this year in terms of the league. So the fact of the matter is, if you don't get off to a good start like we did this year, and we were flying at the start of the season, we were in the top 4, weren't we? We were right up there.
We were top of the table at one point.
Yeah, if you don't get off to that good start, once those European games come, then I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I look forward to the 10 players coming in.
10, you think? Okay.
Yeah, I think we need 10. I think we need, with the amount of players we've got going out. How many's going out? About 7? 6 or 7?
Yeah.
I'll be doing backflips if we bring in 10 players.
But it's never going to happen, is it, Dan? But I'll just kind of, I don't know how many. Go on, let's do a sweepstake. How many players are we going to bring in this season?
I'll go 6.
You're going to go 6. Go on, Dan.
I think it's going to be less than that. I'm going to say 5.
Oh, mate, that's bad.
I hope I'm very wrong. I hope Gary's very wrong, but
yeah,
just the way things have happened, I don't
think,
have a ton of faith that we're going to bring in 6 players.
You know what? Anything from 7 or above, I would put down as long as we're talking good quality signings, a mixture of loans and signings, but 7 plus would be.
And we've got a number of players that are ready to play with the first team. And
it ain't just a numbers game. I mean, make sure we bring players in round pegs for round holes so that we feel where we've got a weakness, because there are certain areas we have got a weakness. We've got no pace on the left wing, right? We've got Jared Bowen on the right wing, who is amazing. We've got no pace on the left wing. Fornals is not a left winger.
That's why you've got Fornals playing out of position, so he can cover for Cresswell, because he's a liability on defense.
That's right. Cresswell has got no pace. He is being covered exactly like you said by Fornals for his deficiencies, right? Yeah. Cresswell, as we've seen, I don't think Cresswell can be the first choice left back stroke wing back. I think we need someone with pace.
Shouldn't have been this year.
I think we need a left-sided centre half. We absolutely do. Now, whether that means Zuma moves to right and Dawson gets dropped, I think that's what it means. Or whether it means Dawson is a starter, whatever it is, we need a left-sided centre half, because Zuma is not a left-sided centre half.
It's going to be Gary. I think it will be, and I don't disagree with this, even though he's getting older. Because I think it's got to be Ogbonna, because Ogbonna proved how important he is to this team.
Yeah.
When we fell to pieces a little bit after
we dropped so many points after he went down.
Yeah, he's so important, and we need Ogbonna or someone like him, basically.
Also, a ball-playing central defensive midfielder to sit alongside Declan Rice, because Souček ain't it. Someone who is very quick-footed, somebody who can get out of trouble, somebody who doesn't mind a team pressing high against them, right? So Calvin Phillips would be perfect for that, absolutely perfect. But now Leeds are staying up. Who knows? Yeah, right. So I've already dismantled most of this team. I think Fornals moves across to Lanzini's position. We obviously need another striker. I would say another 2 strikers we need, right?
Minimum.
We're covered at right back. We're absolutely covered at right back. And
you also need another right winger as well. So we need basically what you need is you need 3 top class wingers and one that can play both sides. You need 3. You do need cover, and we need 2 strikers, and that's including Antonio, because I think Antonio, he is getting older. We've still seen how effective he can be when he's on it.
Yeah.
So how good would Antonio be 100%? Like if he's at 100% of himself to bring off the bench and be an impact player? I don't think you could get a better impact player than Antonio.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And when you're and so Antonio, imagine the bench if you had, say they keep Ben Rama, which I don't think they will, right? But if they did, Ben Rama as a bench player, Antonio as a bench player, build up a really strong bench, because we're going to be allowed 5 subs next year. So you're going to be able to change a game and change a whole system.
That's half your fucking squad.
I've got a feeling. Do you know what I've got a feeling is going to happen? Because David Moyes has got a real hard on for the 3 at the back, for the wing back system.
Yeah,
I've got a feeling he's going to build a squad for a wing back system, and I think we're going to see Zuma, Dawson. I think he is. I think he's going to build a squad. I think he's going to go out and buy, and he won't go out and buy 2 world class fucking wing backs. He won't. Not for each side. We'll have one.
Stopgap option.
Yeah,
well, that's the problem though. If you're going to play the wing back system, Soufal and Johnson are no good.
No, they're no good. They're no good. But I think the only reason he doesn't do that is because we don't have the personnel to play that system.
Right.
Yeah. So if he does want to do that, he's going to have to buy a left wing back, right wing back, who can also play left back and right back. Right.
Yeah.
And I think when you play a 5 at the back, we're going wildly off topic here, but when we play 3 in the middle, 3 centre halves, it's important that you got some pace in those centre halves. Now, Zuma ain't got any pace. He's got more than Dawson. Dawson has got no pace. Probably the only out of the 3 of them, and I don't know what he's going to come back like. Ogbonna would have been the quickest of the 3, and he's not even quick.
No, he's not. But everyone's going mental over like that. That Bassi, the kid who played for Rangers, off the back of a couple of good performances in the Europa League. I mean, he does look good, but I think we've got to, I would hope that we've seen this before, haven't we? We've seen good cup players that have done well in a competition, and they're not quite, you know. So I don't know. I think that link is I think that's nonsense. I don't think we'll be getting him.
Dennis, we might from Watford.
I quite like Dennis.
Somebody just commented that. I saw that.
Yeah, but Dennis, they paid 2 million for him, and now they want 30. Now we've seen these, but we've seen these one season wonders before. We have.
Dennis Nketiah.
Oh God. Me.
We need 8 to 10 clever signings. Yeah, I think, Ken Hammers is absolutely right. And this is what I'm saying. Where I said 10, I wasn't joking. I thought, if you could get 10 targeted signings where you're bringing in 4 or 5 to fit the first team, to totally revamp this first team, it means you've got to ship people out like Souček and various others as well. And then because we're going to need a bigger bench next year and the ability to change a game and the ability to compete in all competitions, 5 for the first team, 5 as backup to build as bigger, so as we've got a bigger squad, and that'll allow us to rotate in the Conference League as well as the cup system.
I just think in the Conference League in the early stages, Gary, you need a good B team because you're not going to be playing your A team in the Conference League. You're not,
and that's what we did. That's what we did in the Europa League early doors this year, and it worked a treat. So he can do it. It was only when we started getting injuries that he stopped doing it. Keane Lewis Potter, yes, please. Pace, yes, pace all day long. I love pace.
Yeah.
And we ain't.
You know what we're going to get. We're going to get 3 or 4 more 7-foot tall players. That's what we're going to get.
Right. Have a look in this team. Have a look in this team in front of you here. Who out of all of them has got pace? And by pace, I mean able to beat someone in a foot race.
Owen and Antonio. That's it.
That's it. 2 players. We've got no pace in defence. We've got no pace in central midfield, and hardly any in the centre and the left-hand side of our attacking midfield. That's ridiculous.
I know. Come on, look, Gary. Let's get on with the player ratings. We've been on for an hour already. Come on, that's enough.
Yeah.
Right.
You're top lads, but you need to sort yourselves out tonight.
Yeah, I do need. I'm getting irritated talking about this game.
Yeah.
Right, Fabianski, Danny.
4, if that.
Yeah, I'll go lower.
It's a generous 4.
I think he was shit. And I love Fabianski, but let's call it as it is. He's got to do better with that. That was kind of what. That was what. Well, having said that, do you know what? The goal was coming. We could all see it. But the fact of the matter is, you rely on your goalkeeper. It's your last line of defence. He's got to do better than that. I would say 3. Gary, what would you say?
I'll give him a 4. Give him a 4.
Okay. He made a couple of saves before the first goal went in, but it wasn't anything that he was that tested on. Yeah, that's a fair donkey head.
No, he is. He's getting a donkey. Right,
what? Can I just say, if we didn't concede that goal so early in the second half, I think we might have had a chance of winning that game.
I think it just deflated everyone out there.
I think it completely took the wind out of our sails.
Yeah.
So no, it's all. Yeah.
Never mind the fact that from top to bottom, nobody seemed to do their job today.
I think you're right because, like I said earlier on, I think the second half. I know that they changed shape, but it was the same again. We set out in the second half the way that we set out in the first half, and that's to suss the opposition out, be patient, contain them. And it didn't go to plan. They scored, and that's when David Moyes' plan doesn't work, you're in trouble, right? So go to Cresswell next, Gary.
Well, I thought he was quite vulnerable in the first half, in that first 15 minutes. He didn't do much wrong, but he didn't do much right either. I thought his set-piece delivery wasn't great either. His corners were not great, so I'll give him a 6.
Yeah, I think an average game. Dan, do you agree with that?
That's fair.
Okay, right. Soufal on the right-hand side. I'll do Soufal. I thought it was an interesting battle that was developing in the first half between him and that airy bastard that he was going up against, Cucurella, in it or something.
Yes.
Because he's a good player. I like him. He was winning the defensive battle. He was getting forward, but his crosses make me want to cry. He gets in good areas, and he always whips the ball into an area where there is fucking no one there. And there was quite a few times where he had time to look up and pick an area as well. So I would say for Soufal, I'd go 6. I'd go 6 as well. An average game. I don't think he was good. I don't think he was bad.
Yeah, he got in front of a couple of shots that helped out. I mean, he like you said, he took care of his defensive duties. He had a couple of key blocks, but I mean, other than that, no, he didn't have shit to offer in attack.
No. No, do you agree with that, Gal?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. What's everyone else saying? 6.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back up here, 5 for Cresswell.
Yeah, 5 for Cress is actually
4 for
more fair.
Cresswell.
He didn't have a better game than Sioux Fall.
No, I agree. Downgrade Cresswell to 5.
Yeah, but would you say that Cresswell was below average? I wouldn't say he was below average.
What's average these days?
Well, no. What we're saying is, did Cresswell do anything wrong? Really,
I agree. I agree with Danny though. I think that Soufal was better than Cresswell.
Well, then, yeah, and Soufal ain't. There's no way Soufal's a 7.
No.
No.
That's why we're saying 6
but
and 5.
more likely that Cress would have been that Cress deserves a 5 versus Soufal deserving a 7.
All right. Okay, we'll change that. That's fine. Right, we'll move on to Zuma next. Gary.
Again, nothing stood out to me where Zuma screwed up. I think he saw a lot of the ball in the first half. I'm not sure he was responsible for any of the goals.
Not directly, no.
No. So I'd give him a 6.
6, yeah, I'd go along with that. Would you reckon, Dan?
I'm along with that. Both he and Dawson had a tough time adjusting when Brighton made their changes, and they had kind of like overlapping runs, overlapping attackers. They really struggled with that. So, I mean, that pretty much just segues us right into Dawson, who I think also deserves a 6.
Yeah. I agree with that as well, because defensively, I think we were all over the place. I think Dawson made some good blocks and stuff like that, but positionally, our centre-backs were being fucking pulled all over the place.
Yeah.
At the start of the first half and in that second half.
It was chaos for them in that
It was chaos. Yeah, they didn't know what was going on, did they?
Yeah.
So I'll go over 6 as well with that.
Yeah, look, I thought Dawson had the better of the two, better game out of the two, because he, the amount of blocks and the amount of headers away. I mean, it was like the Alamo there at some point, sometimes in the second half.
Well, so you want to go on the same logic?
Same logic as Kent Hammers here. Well, it's not really explained it, but that's my logic. Is that I noticed Dawson more, as in blocking, clearing, doing all the dirty work, more than I did Zuma. That's why I was struggling to rate Zuma, because I didn't really notice him.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, I wouldn't go any higher than a 6. But if you want to do a 7,
no, it's okay. Leave it at 6.
Yeah.
Just go consensus.
Okay. Right. Fucking right. This bloke, we've already spoken about Souček, so I'm not gonna smash him to pieces anymore. I think you've all heard what I think about his performance. It wasn't surprising. It was a run of the mill Souček performance where the game bypasses him. And he got dispossessed a few times in the first half as well. So you're probably lucky if he touched the ball 6 times in that first half, and he lost the ball twice. He got dispossessed in midfield.
Yeah, he did in key areas as well.
Too.
Yeah, in key areas, and I just I'm really struggling with him. I feel sorry for him in one respect now, because I don't know why he's being played. I really don't. I think Moyes' comments were a bit scathing, really. I can't imagine that's going to have done his confidence much good. With the
he's got just all summer to stew over it and maybe improve. And
yeah, maybe. But no, I think for me, he was below average. I don't think he did anything wrong enough to call him a donkey.
No,
to call him a 4, but he didn't affect the game at all.
I'd say a 5 is fair for him.
Yeah,
5.
He had a reckless tackle on Cucurella later in the match. I think he got booked.
He did get booked, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we were basing this on an average based on how the player normally plays, and it would be a 6 for Souček, because this is an average game for Souček.
Right.
It's as simple as that for me. But Declan Rice will go to Danny. I'm going to put the man of the match on him now.
He deserves man of the match. Really, the only guy that seemed to take care of his defensive duties, and he contributed a lot of long balls in attack.
He did
great job switching up play, finding Bowen on the right hand side. Sometimes Soufal put him in good positions to make things happen. But as we have said a couple of times on this show already, the Soufal just had nothing to offer in the way of a good ball into the box. But yeah, Rice was head and shoulders above the rest of his teammates today, and that's kind of par for the course for him. He usually turns in that kind of performance.
Always does.
But despite that, I mean, Head and Shoulders still wasn't great. I would say a 7 is fair for him. He didn't have a brilliant game.
Yeah, I would go 8 for Rice. I think he did have a good game considering it, of the fucking shit he had around him. I think he had a brilliant game. And I just said, can you imagine? Can you picture like that performance today? Can you picture West Ham without him? I mean, it's worrying.
West Ham without him would have gone down like Burnley did today.
It's worrying to say the least. You know, yeah, it is. What would you say, Gail? Would you go 8 or 7?
I'd go 8, and I'll tell you why. Is that early in the first half, that first 15 minutes where we were under the caution, our entire team, our entire team hadn't turned up. He was the only one on the pitch getting the ball and trying to drive us forward. And Danny's already said about a couple of his passes. Some of his passes were outstanding today. He really tried to take the ball by the horns and make something happen in that game. And I think he was one of the only ones who did. Him and Antonio.
Do you know when he drives a pass across the field, Gary? It lands on the player's foot.
I know.
It doesn't bounce and go to the player. It fucking lands on the money. It's unbelievable.
You don't even have to have a brilliant first touch to be in a good spot whenever he finds you.
It's ridiculous.
He was a great player in amongst a sea of crap out there today.
Yeah.
So I'll give him an 8.
Right. Okay, we'll go to Gary for Lanzini.
Sloppy, very, very sloppy. Conceded possession a lot. Didn't really do anything in the attacking area of the pitch. I can't remember him making playing a single pass, playing someone in. I don't remember the quick feet that you usually get from Lanzini. I would give him exactly what Hammerhead has said here, a 5.
Below average.
I second that 5 from Gary and Hammerhead. Okay.
That's fine. Right, move on to Pablo Fornals. Danny.
Very poor today. Like you had said, he's kind of been placed in that position on the wing. It's not a tactical reason that he's put there. Rather, it's preventative, really, because he's there to cover for Cresswell. The effort was there. He just still played like shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think it is a square peg in a round hole. I feel bad for him in one respect because he's always played out of position, you know.
And he always gives the effort, though.
It always gives the effort. It's always there, but he's. I think the issue with Fornals is Fornals doesn't do square passes. Fornals does always look to play forward. He always looks to play forward passes. I don't think he had much movement in front of him today. He did have options where he could have executed, as Gary pointed out earlier on, where he could have picked out a better pass. His passing wasn't on it. But what Fornals doesn't go for the easy sideways ball. He don't pass sideways and backwards. He does try to get forward. So when he's off it,
very aggressive, too aggressive for his own good. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So, but his pass success rate must have been awful today. It must have been awful.
Oh yeah.
So I'd go with a below average for him.
5.
So 5. What do you reckon, Gary?
I'll go 5. Yep.
Because he wasn't worse than Lanzini. I mean, he kind of was, but not by a great margin.
I think the reason I wouldn't give him a 4 is exactly what you said. It's the effort. He always puts in the effort.
Mm-hmm.
He was poor today, but you can never question his effort.
What's this?
I don't know what that means.
All right. Okay. Barney's on phone tonight.
Yeah.
Right. I must admit, this man who we don't normally have a go at. I'll go to you, Gary, on this one. But for me, if he hadn't been on the pitch, I don't think we'd have noticed. He weren't really involved, was he? Which is unusual.
He was absolutely anonymous.
Yeah.
For the whole game.
Really weird.
There was a couple of times where he nicked the ball and nipped inside and lost the ball. That's all I saw him do. He done that twice, I think. Poor. All 3 of them were poor. 5.
You go 5 on him. What do you reckon, Dan?
I really wouldn't have. I would have rather had Yarmolenko start if that's the kind of performance we were going to get on the right wing.
Well, the only trouble is, I think, like I said before, when you play Yarmolenko on the right, he's fucking useless because
Right. And so was Bowen. Like it
Yeah.
was that bad of a performance that he turned in today that you could have
Yeah.
plugged Yarmolenko in there and brought in Bowen as a super sub towards the end and maybe try and make something happen. I don't know, but
I think what Yarmolenko would have given you if we'd have played a front three of Antonio left, Bowen right, Yarmolenko down the middle. Yarmolenko's an intelligent player. We've all seen some of his assists have been beautiful. He can pick a pass, Yarmolenko.
Yes.
He's a big bloke. He can hold the ball up. He's an intelligent player. I think we could have made more use of him than what we have personally. But
I agree.
But it's too late now. It's hindsight. So 5 for Bowen. Gary, you in? Well, obviously you said that. Danny, you're in agreement. Right, Antonio, I'll go on. He was definitely far better than Bowen, Lanzini, and Fornells. I mean, when you look at these scores, it just goes to show you, really. I mean, it's unforgivable, that performance today. It's fucking ridiculous. Even though I don't agree with the personnel that was put out and that was stuck with, you'd expect it, as Gary would say, and I agree with him. They should have been putting in better performances than this because it was awful. And Antonio had to basically, it goes, if you got players like that playing that badly behind you, Antonio didn't have a bad game at all. He was still beating defenders up and trying. I probably wouldn't go any higher than I haven't said that. You got to mark him up for the goal. I would have said a 6, but maybe a 7.
Absolutely a 7. I wouldn't have given him any less than a 7.
I'd go a 7 for Antonio for me.
He wasn't given much to work with in the second half.
Nothing.
I'm going to give credit where credit's due. He made that goal happen kind of out of nothing on that throw in.
Yeah, he still does all the things that really irritate us about Antonio, like throws himself to the floor all the time and gets a bit clumsy and stuff like that. But he's another one. He works his socks off, you know. And he had no support. He had no fucking support today. He had none.
None at all. He was up. Those three behind him. I don't know whether it was the system that we played, which again, because we've seen this many times where Fornells and Bowen end up doing defensive duties rather than pushing forward to support Antonio.
I think that's why we never saw him, Gary.
Yeah, because that's what that happens quite a lot, doesn't it? But nonetheless, they didn't get forward to support him, and so he was completely isolated up front on his own, poor sod, running around, just trying to make things happen. Thoroughly deserved a very good 7 for me.
Okay, high 7. Well done, Mickey. Right. Well, basically, we'll just mark all of these subs together because none of them had a fucking effect on the game. They were pointless. So should we give them all 5s? You can't really
blanket 5s. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Give Nobes a 6.
Yeah. Average is a 6. They're all average. They were no less than average.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just give Nobles a slightly higher rating since it's his last.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'll give Noble a 10. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Right. And I have saved one donkey.
Aha.
He's fucking getting one today, mate, because he was. I am sorry. Everything that Gary said was right when he gave that. He gave that.
Hang on.
That rundown.
Hang on. Stop. Right. That is the first time in my life you've ever said that.
Yeah, no, but you were right. But that's because it's one of the first times you've ever been bloody honest about it.
Shut up.
But basically, he's absolutely right. I think we saw today, and this isn't saying before anyone gets out of their pram. I love David Moyes. I do think he's one of the best managers we've ever had. I don't think that we should even, especially where West Ham are at the minute, we can't even consider moving on to anyone else. Moyes is our manager, but he was fucking poor today, and he can be. He gets, as Gary said against Frankfurt, it was bad today. We went up against a proactive manager in Potter. That his plan A didn't work. He changed it, and then he continued to tweak it throughout the second half as well. David Moyes just sits on his hands, and he looks frozen like an angry deer in the headlights because he always looks angry, but nothing happens. He just stands there with this stony look on his face, like he can't believe his plan isn't working. He looks angry that his plan isn't working, and I'm just fucking for me, he gets a 3 today from me.
Yeah,
that is a 3. It's a 3. That was a cup final for us, or it should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been, and he got it wrong for sticking with Fabianski. These stupid sentimental decisions that he makes, where he goes with seniority over anything else. He's got to stop that.
Yeah,
he's got to put players in based on merit, especially in big games.
Yeah, I think it's a thoroughly deserved 3 or 4 today. He's there to He's there to manage a team. I think he set the team up right. I think he managed the first half. It was a good performance in the end in the first half, but it was really only half. He only. You see what I mean? He only got it right for half a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because their manager, Potter, made the change at half time. And the first thing Moyes did was not react to that change. You know, I didn't expect him to make a substitution, but to cater for that with the existing players he had on the pitch, but he didn't. He done nothing to counter it.
It's like he let the occasion pass him by.
Yeah. So he only half a games. Add to that, his substitutions are crap. So what I'm saying is, he probably deserves a 3 today.
He does, and it's it is frustrating. I just got to hope. I mean, what we want to see is really if he's got to be more dynamic in these games when it isn't going right, because it isn't always going to go right. We saw that with Potter today. His game plan didn't work. Your game plan isn't always going to work. So you need to have a plan B, a plan C. You need to be able to be dynamic in a game. And I want to see that more from Moyes next year. I do. I want him to get more players in so that he can. He can. Do you know what? When we play a team, it would be nice if the opposition didn't know how he was going to set up and how he was going to play.
Yes, and this thing from Chris Murphy here really bothers me. When it comes to crunch time, Moyes folds again. That is a thing that does bother me quite a lot because. All right, it's easy to say that we've only failed on the big games, but we've had a lot of big games. But when you think Spurs in the League Cup, all right, we had a fair few injuries at that point, but he played a weakened side and kind of accepted that we were going to get knocked out of that. Southampton, he went and played 3 at the back with Masuaku. He kind of screwed up on that one as well. Yeah. And then with Frankfurt, when we got knocked out, he kind of screwed up on that one as well. And then today, I think he screwed up today as well. So it's a bit of a recurring theme. Look, the net result is we've had a fabulous season and all that sort of stuff, but there have been key moments in this season, and that is what Chris has just said there is playing in the back of my mind somewhere. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's the well. Look, I think what we know we're going to get with Moyes, we know that we're not going to. I don't think we're ever going to struggle with relegation or anything like that. We're not. I think he's a good, solid manager. He's reliable. Yeah. He is. But we will only I want him to be better than that, and I think he can be. I just think he's got to try and lose that stubborn streak a little bit. Maybe he needs to get more of an advisor to come with him, a tactical advisor. I don't fucking know. Someone that can feed into him a little bit, because all the great managers out there, Alex Ferguson, Pep, they've all got good number 2s, haven't they? That will basically analyze.
They have people around them, and they're not too stubborn to listen to people around them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a fresh set of eyes.
This is interesting. What Gary says here. Where is Pearce? Ain't seen him on the bench. I think Pearce sits up in the gods and watches the game in the. I thought that was just the first half where he watches it and gives Moyes. He calls him and tells him what how the team are playing. He watches it from a heightened position.
I reckon he was just playing Flappy Bird on his phone today because.
You reckon? Had we gone for second, Brighton's head would have dropped.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
But we came out submissive, didn't we?
If we don't, Ballan Dawson says, if we don't sign a striker this summer, our Moyes out needs to build upon these good seasons. Yes,
I do think what I think, and Gary is in agreement with that as well. And like I say, I'm not Moyes out, but this summer is fucking huge, and he has got to sort the squad out now. You know, we are only where we are now. I mean, it's ridiculous that we've arrived in this position, because to arrive in a situation with a manager that doesn't like recruiting en masse, he doesn't. To arrive in a situation where we're already thin and we've got all of these players leaving, and he's now in a situation where he's got to go out and recruit en masse because we haven't recruited well enough in previous windows. He's not good. It's worrying.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt over January. I know you didn't. I gave him the benefit of the doubt over January.
I thought that was a massive window. We would have been top. We would have easily been top picks. We would have easily been top.
But I'll stick by what I said then, and that is summer is the important window. And if he doesn't do what he needs to do in this summer and put us in a better position, I want to start next season stronger than we finished this season. That is the test. Will we?
No, I don't know.
So Pep fucks up too. Yes, he does. Yes, he does, Barney.
To improve on, but fuck me, there's so much work to do.
Pearce is about. He was doing a warm up before the game. right? Too many other results have gone our way and we haven't capitalised. Yes, we could have had fourth. Yeah, with a bit more.
We had a lot of
form,
opportunities.
Yeah.
A lot of favors from other clubs.
Screws up a lot if we don't start off good with more games. Well, that's a recurring theme as well. We start games off really slowly. I'm not Moyes out, but you can see a recurring thing with Moyes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. It's just that lack of dynamism, isn't it? You know, like when you know when we're good, aren't we? When we're good, we're fucking brilliant.
Yes,
but that is quite often when Moyes has got the game plan bang on, and we've got the beating of the opposition from the off.
I just felt after the way we played Man City last week, I just felt that we would go there today and really go balls out for a win.
Yeah,
and we just didn't. It was such a damp squib.
I think I will be honest with you. I think against Brighton, because they're not better player for player, and it isn't just the fact that they're a bogey team. I'm not saying I want Potter over Moyes, but I think there are going to be certain managers. Potter is better tactically than Moyes, and I think he will come up against managers sometimes that will do that to him. It will happen. But then again, you know, Moyes is consistent. He kind of, when you look at where Brighton are compared to where we are, we've had a better season and we've had more to cope with the Europa League.
If Potter achieves and gets Brighton to a certain level, consistently, will he then still be the brave manager he is today?
Well, I don't think he was brave. I think it's more brave.
No, I'm talking about.
I think he just did his job, which was trying to win a game.
I think it's more brave to do what Moyes does when it's clearly going wrong and to just fucking stand there and do
double
nothing.
down.
That's braver. Yeah. That's brave because you're leaving yourself open to criticism like this when it doesn't pay off. I mean, what explanation can you give for doing nothing?
No, I know.
You can't.
I know. So. Anyway, look, let's put this behind us. Let's get this miserable lot off the screen. Let's end on a bit of a happy note. We done? Are we done?
We're done. Let me get rid of that. Thing. But anyway, look, it has been a great season. We've had some great moments. We've said it before. At the end of the day, supporting a football team, you know, if you don't win a trophy and stuff like that, all you want from a season is memories. We've got loads of them from this season. So in that respect, it has been a brilliant, a very memorable season. It has one of the best for a long time. But there are. We just want as Fornell said in his post-match interview, when you've tasted the honey, you want more honey, and we've got that next year. We have to a degree, but it's not quite going to be the same as what we had this year. It's going to be a lot harder, loads more games, and for less of a reward as well. But if we're in it, we've got to go and try and win it. And as Gary said, if you do progress to the later stages, and let's face it, we're going to have to work fucking hard to get knocked out of that competition. So you probably are going to progress to the later stages. Then it starts getting a bit interesting. It does.
You almost need a deeper squad to stay afloat in that competition than you would if we had gotten 100%. Sixth.
But there isn't enough money in it to warrant investing
in players to get you through in that competition.
No, there ain't enough money in it. So
does winning automatically get you into the next Europa League?
Yes. Winning it gets you into the Europa.
Okay. Obviously, there's no guarantee we'll go on and do that. But it's just good to know.
Yeah. No, I know. But that is a reward, really. So
at least for you guys, it'll mean more away days to get to travel to another country.
Yeah, so we've got to fight
forward to that.
So we've got to fight through 28 games to achieve what we just needed to just win today's game for, which is really frustrating.
It's not quite that many. Not quite that many.
And we'll do that with 5 signings.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what it also needs is a couple of good youth players to develop. Like what's his name? The right back who he used a couple of times this year. Ashby. Now he could be a wing back. Ashby, I forgot about him. It is about time that one of those other defenders broke through. It's about time one of the attacking players broke through. So, maybe in amongst a senior squad, having a little peppering of 2, maybe 2, maybe 3 youth players against the really weak sides. Let's not forget that's how these games used to be in the Europa League, and this is how Harry Kane became Harry Kane. Spurs played him in the early rounds of the Europa League.
Yeah, I know. You're talking about an extreme example. I mean, Harry Kane's world class. Declan
Oh.
Rice is world class.
Well, he wasn't world class at the time. He was a bit of a donkey. He'd been out on loan a few times, and they chucked him in as a kid, and he to see if he could swim, and he could swim.
Well, next season, I'm pretty certain we're going to get to see loads of our youth players because I don't think we're going to be playing our first team in that competition. Nowhere near it. We're not. I don't think we're going to
early.
We won't recruit to win that. I think we're going to have to be reliant on our kind of B team backup players and our youth team. I don't think you'll see the first team in those games.
I'll tell you what. If that's what happens, then I would be. As long as we don't deliberately go out to get knocked out, as long as we're going out there to be competitive and try to win the competition,
of course,
I don't care how we do it.
No. But then again, I suppose you've got to think because a lot of the that's how Spurs were getting beat. You know, they because these teams, it is a cup final for them, and they're not easy. These Eastern European teams. No, we've seen it ourselves. It ain't like, oh yeah, we've got really good, talented under 23s. Throw them out there, they'll knock them out of the park. I don't think that's the case.
It's a much bigger stage for other teams are going to be facing in the competition, or especially in the early rounds.
Yeah, but no, but I don't want to see it. I'll be honest with you. I want us to progress through. Like I said, I think we would have to work really hard to get knocked out of the early stages anyway, because we should progress through by default, I think. And I don't want it to affect our Premier League season, especially early on. We've got to focus on that as well, and the domestic cups. So if it was a Europa League, because I really enjoyed that this year, I'd be like, no, prioritise that. Fuck it. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
So anyway,
it could be worse. We could have no European football next year.
Exactly.
That's the spirit.
But look, I think we should finish on. Let's finish on a happy note, right? From Ken Hammers, it says the honey isn't quite as sweet as this year, but the further you go into the competition, the bitterness will subside. Great words, Ken Hammers.
That is good. That is good, and it will. You know what? Because we'll get excited about it once we're in it. We will.
And then Chris Murphy, aka Nick, says, "I want jam, not honey."
I know.
Right, that's it. We're done, aren't we? So let's. Thanks all for joining us for over this wonderful season. It's been a great season that's ended in quite a sour way, but chin up. Couple of days time, would have forgotten about all this and be looking forward to all the myriads of new signings that
transfer window time
over the summer. Transfer window time. We're going to take 2 or 3 weeks off. No, 3 or 4 weeks off. If there's any big transfer news, we'll drop a show out. But other than that, we're gonna have some time off. I think Moyes is going off on holiday. Well deserved rest.
He better not be going on fucking holiday. He can make the signings before he fucking takes a rest. I tell you.
First things first. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks for joining us again. Thanks for coming on so many times this year. You've all been good value as usual.
Love to do it. Thank you guys for always having me on here.
Yeah.
We'll see more of you next year as well, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And in person, hopefully, because we're coming back there for sure.
Well, I'm going off to share a villa for 2 weeks with Nick in in Cyprus next week. So,
have fun with that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's good. Perhaps we should make some videos while we're out in it.
Yeah, we should do. Yeah,
after a couple of drinks,
chopped up in a freezer. Don't believe the suicide note.
After a couple of drinks, we're going to make a video together. I think that's a great idea.
going on screen with a pair of us with black eyes and burst lips and stuff.
Must see TV.
Yeah. Anyway, look, thanks for all your support this year. We'll see you in a few weeks. See you soon. Don't be too down. The future's bright. The future's claret and blue. See you soon. Come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons.